So as you fine-tune that, then you will have access to deeper layers of your unconsciousness. And there's an entire territory that needs to be mastered. And it's the territory of the emotions. And emotions need to be mastered because, well, you're born with them, you live with them, you die with them. They're not your emotions, they're emotions. Everyone has them. You don't have any emotion that nobody else doesn't have. And all animals have them, in different levels of complexity. The simplest level is flight, it's fear. Fear has been happening for, well, at least 1 billion years. Life was just single cells, just taking nutrients from thermal vents, underwater vents, from sunlight, from volcanoes, nutrients and energy and resources, and growing how to do that. And then one little cell got big enough that it swallowed another little cell, and it discovered that it didn't have to make its own food. It could eat the other ones that were making food for it. And fear didn't exist beforehand. At some point, one little monster is chasing after another little monster, and the other one's running away. So fear has to come in so that you can move away from a danger. So the first emotion will be fear. Energy and motion that has to go away. So if something's trying to chase you and eat you, you move out of the way, and once you're safe, you don't feel fear anymore because nothing is trying to eat you or hurt you, so you don't have to feel fear anymore. Now you just need to feel your way through, and as soon as you begin to feel fear, it's because you're probably in danger of something trying to eat you. So then you move out of the way again. And that's how you stay alive. Right? Then, the next level is anger. Anger comes in because you're more complex, and you have the option, instead of just fearing, you can also fight. Instead of flight, you can also fight. I've witnessed this with, I used to have these little turtles, like this big Japanese painted turtles. And when they're little, they're tiny, tiny. And you put them in your terrarium, and you go to grab them or handle them or move them, and they run away like they're in terror. They're like that, trying to run away. And they do that until they reach a certain size. And then all of them, as soon as they reach a certain size, they go from running away to suddenly they stop, they look at you, and they go, wah! And they attack. And they're this big, so you just let them attack you. Like, what can they do? They can't do anything to you. They can't even pinch you. And now, instead of trying to run away, they attack. And if that doesn't work, then they try to run away. So they have fight. They have flight and fight. Yeah, they have fear and anger that they demonstrate. It's a way of communicating through their body what they need or what they require in order to live through the situation. And then they get to a point where they get used to you, and then one day they're big enough, and they're not even afraid of you or they fight you anymore, and if you put food out, they come towards you. So we all go through these levels. As children, we start off by crying. Somewhere around the age of 6 months, we're complex enough to start fighting, start screaming, to start feeling anger. But when we're born, we don't feel any anger. We can't even smile. We can just feel fear. And then we can feel anger. And then we start feeling joy and playfulness. All our emotions start evolving and building up. We're taught to repress our emotions instead of being allowed to fully express them. This causes problems. You should know your full range, your full dynamic range of emotions unrepressed. You should allow yourself to get as angry as you ever need to be. And witness that and experience that so you know what it is. You need to bring full awareness into your deepest sorrows. Everybody has it. Into your worst fears. Into your most horrific rages. Into hatred. You need to experience hatred. Know your hatred. What is it? Just like you know how many toes you have. You know what food you need. You need to know how you feel emotionally. So that you're unrepressed. And free. You have full range of dynamic emotions. And of course that has to be done in a way that does not hurt you or hurt somebody else. When you're emotionally free, and you're liberated from your emotions, and you're in a healthy body, these are the first two requirements to really being able to tune into your intuition, because your fears that you've collected or repressed, the angers, the fears, the guilt, the shame that we build up over our lifetimes, that stays on, and it controls your entire life. It controls your mind. It's part of mind. It's the deep subconscious roots, and it results in not being present in the moment. And being present in the moment is the richest space you could start from. So there's some added benefits to being able to have your full dynamic range of emotions. They're all resourceful. They're all valuable. There's always a place to show anger. There's always a place to show violence. If somebody came in and tried to attack your family, anger and violence might be appropriate. Maybe on you, if somebody attacks you, maybe you need to fight back, maybe you don't. I don't know, it depends. But you might need to protect your child, right? So, and sometimes you just need to be able to roar, be able to hiss. And sometimes you need to be able to bite too. So, repressing this presses buttons on your inner walkie-talkie. And some people are very good at repressing it. Some people are very good at controlling it. Anthony Robbins has mastered killing his monsters. As soon as a monster comes up, he cuts its head off. He kills it. As soon as an unresourceful state, an anger, a hatred, a fear, he just manages it. He manages his state. He's learned how to manage his state, and he teaches people how to do that. And it's an absolute requirement to learn how to do this, so I'm not saying anything against him. I'm actually 100% in favor of learning how to manage your skills. If you have a rage, if you have an anger, if you have anything that you consider to be not a yummy state, but a yucky state, you have to be able to manage it, at least once. But once you learn how to manage it, there's something additive to be said about allowing this to come up. In other words, allowing yourself to feel and be in a non-destructive, non-violent way towards yourself or others, angry, hateful, sad, depressed. A lot of people have depression issues, and they get put on a certain diet or certain medications to give them a flotation device just to keep them balanced. But once you experience you can be balanced, the next step for me is now you need to go into it. You need to experience it. You need to dive under and find the root causes. Otherwise, you're going to spend your entire life killing monsters. What if those monsters are actual resources for you? Because I've gone in and looked and found all of my monsters and fully accepted them and embraced them. And they all turned out to be just little isolated, lost, broken parts of me. Inside every monster, there's a little bit of you, a tiny little child in you that learned that by being a monster, it protects itself.
Okay.
But it doesn't develop. These are inner child, inner children. Inner, sensitive, gentle, delicate parts of you that are, because of the violence that we have in society, there's a tremendous amount of abuse towards children. The way we raise children is very damaging. That's why it keeps passing on. History repeats itself because we teach it to children with an imprint of unconsciously and then repeat it. And it's a history of cumulative violence, cumulative pain, cumulative insanity. It keeps building. And there's a clear psychology behind it, because we imprint. So all of that needs to be released. The only way it can be released is by actually going inside and exploring it with full conscious awareness. It's your capacity to bring your full conscious awareness into your worst fears, your worst nightmares, your most horrific horrors, your guilts, your shames, your lust. Clear all that out by bringing awareness and acceptance into it, and your capacity to feel joy increases. See, there's one energy of life force that's going through this body. And that one energy of life force, when it goes through the body under different situations, emotions will come out. Emotions are how animals communicate. A dog shows you through its emotions. You can see it in its eyes and the way it looks at you, right? It opens its mouth. Has a certain smile, or right? You can see it's angry. It's ready to attack. So that gives you information. But once you're out of the way, it stops growling. But once you get into someone barks at you, get out of the way, can you relax instantly or do you stay tight?
You relax.
You can relax. But how many people stay tight? If someone offends you today,
Oh, they take it home with them.
because they're used to repressing things. And somebody told them that it's bad, so they don't want to experience it. They don't want to answer. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to release it to that person or go off and find another way to release it. You have to repress it because it's bad. And it doesn't work that way. It doesn't matter what people believe or say. It just doesn't work that way. There's biological facticity, just the way it is. So I like to think of it as you've seen what happens if you put white light through a prism. Right? The light comes in, and then you have these rainbow colors that come out. Do you know what happens if you take a rainbow and you put it through a prism? What comes out the other side?
How would you get the rainbow to go in?
Well, if you take a prism and you shoot a light into it, a beam of light, a rainbow will come out the other side. You take another prism and you align it so that it catches through it. What will go when the rainbow goes into the prism? What comes out the other end?
I would guess a white light.
White light. Now, let's do this experiment. Let's decide that red is an angry color and we don't like it. And orange is lustful. We're not going to. And you start filtering out and taking out different colors. And then you put what's left, so less than a full rainbow, back into the prism. Do you think you'll get white light out the other end?
You get a mutation of
Get a
something
mutation.
that's not clean.
It's not clean anymore. So think of your emotion, think of your body as a crystal, and energy going through it, and depending on the situations, on the conditions, your body will feel more happy or less happy, more relaxed or more tense, more angry, or a certain even amount of rage and violence, or a sadness, right? Depending on what the circumstances are. Right? Then psychologically, that's your other prism. You start saying anger is bad. Hatred is just not acceptable. You have to love unconditionally. Whatever that means. Right? And sadness, boys don't cry. Right? And ladies don't do this. And we start putting all these filters in. They're psychological filters. And then you're supposed to be happy all the time, which is not possible. Because if you're happy all the time, and you fell into a mud pit, then you'd stay happy in the mud pit. Or you got caught on fire, then you'd stay on fire. At some point you have to go, I'm not happy about this. I don't like being all yucky and mucky all the time. I want to get out of the mud. Or I don't feel happy when I'm on fire. I want to be out or far away from the fire. Does that make sense? So you have to be able to feel pain and discomfort. If you filter out, if you say pain is bad, anger is bad, these emotions are negative, non-resourceful states. These are beautiful. I feel gratitude, and I feel compassion, and I feel love, and I'm going to colorize it. I'm going to make myself feel gratitude. Find something to be grateful about every day. I'm going to share love, even if I don't feel it. I'm going to fake it till I make it. People say this, right? People do this. You might have even tried. What's going to come out is a distortion of the pure light, of the pure white light of energy that's coming through your body. I'm going to highly, highly, highly suggest and recommend that you learn how to accept and integrate every single one of your emotions, and you experience what happens as an adult when you are completely emotionally free and clear, undistorted, unprocessed, unfiltered, just all together. Because what flows through you, actually the only word that comes close to it is actual bliss. It's the combination of all of your emotions. Feeling happiness, feeling love, feeling joy, feeling anger, feeling sadness. They're all the ingredients in the curry that allows you to have a complete blissful experience. Anything less than that is missing something. You can colorize it, you can add, you can pretend, you can act, but deep down inside, you don't have it. Until all of those elements are there. A child plays freely and they're in a state of glee, which is unawareness, because they're not emotionally repressed, until somebody starts to teach them emotional repression. Now, emotional repression has been taught to all quote-unquote civilizations for thousands of years. It was legitimized in the West by a German psychologist called Gottlieb. Gottlieb wrote a dissertation on it. He wrote a book on it. He instructed parents. He said very simply, he said, parents, there comes a time when your children will defy you. And when that happens, you have a choice to make. If you allow them to, they will never fit into society. They will not integrate themselves. They will defy your authority. They won't complete school. They won't work in the factories. They won't get a job. They might turn to drugs and addictions and violence later. So for their own good, you must take this child who is wild, and at first defiance, you have to break him. You have to show him. You've got to put the fear of God in him, or the fear of you. So at the first hint, at the first defiance, you hit him once. You scare him once. Me, at age 6, I was shaken by my father. He shook me. Created a series of traumas, issues, fear of control, pains in my neck, that led to chemical addictions, to all sorts of things, until I figured out that the source of it was I was blocking my fear of getting angry. Because my parents, if I got too angry, if I defied them too much, a belt would come out. I would get beaten. Not beaten to a pulp. I was sensitive, intelligent. I knew when to say, I could say, Uncle, I give up. Okay, stop hitting me. That hurts too much. I was sensitive, but there are people that get beaten hard. Fortunately, my parents didn't drink or abuse substances, so it wasn't to that point. But I have never met somebody who wasn't in some way, as a child, physically abused. It's an abuse because you're that much bigger, and the child depends on you and has no choice but to capitulate. Has no choice but to choose obedience. Obedience is the number one guiding rule for religions, for societies, for cultures. There's armies, there's prisons, there's police. There's an entire industry that's built on taking the ones that won't obey and putting them in a position where they would be forced to obey. So we all carry these psycho-emotional blockages and problems, and they prevent us from living to our full capacity. And there's definitely something about freeing your emotions, clearing your past, having full dynamic range where you allow yourself permission to have full range, full emotional range, because you're aware. You can use it as a tool for the right amount, for the right situation. And there are times when you need to get angry to get an energy across. Doesn't mean you're going to hurt anyone, but you're ready to rah. Yeah. As an example, I have a little girl that I can introduce you to. She's the daughter of Jantra's younger sister. She was raised by her mother and by her grandparents, who are rough people. They live in rough conditions, they're violent, they're aggressive, they drink. They have a certain preset conditioning of how people are supposed to be, and they're born into the unspoken slave caste of this part of the world, so they're here to dominate and be dominated. There's a whole pecking order. So by the time she was 4 years old, 5 years old, she was violent, angry, aggressive, repressed, crying. She would go into these sort of autistic fits where her eyes would roll into the back of her head and drool would come out of her mouth. She would just escape. She wasn't taken care of properly. She had 4 rotting teeth in her mouth. She had cuts and infections. She was in the hospital once a week. Whenever she got sick, her parents wouldn't beat her up because she was sick. So she learned to get secondary gain, and she was continuously ill. And Jantra has had something for this little girl from the beginning that I've always sensed, and it was always very authentic. So Jantra has always been supportive and done everything we could, but we found this girl, and she was such a mess. She was literally biting other students at school. She was antisocial. She was just headed towards disaster. And we invited her and the mother to come and stay with us. And they lived with us for a year. In the first 3 days of the little girl being here, she was like a little Godzilla. She was a little monster. Manipulative, crying, angry, biting, breaking things, defiant. And I saw that, and I realized this girl's really repressed. So I pulled her aside. I said to her, Nampu, show me your monster. And I had Jantra translate for her. Show me how angry you are. I want to hear you scream. nobody had ever said to scream. She'd get slapped or hit or pinched for screaming. So I encouraged her to scream, and I started by shouting and yelling, rah, and I would scream, and I would punch a pillow, and I made a game out of it, and she started kicking and screaming, and I would have her, rah, rah, and then finally she broke through it. She, rah, she let it out. 3 days. 3 weeks later, a different person. In 3 weeks, she cleared out the first 5 years of her life. She went from being rough and tough and biting to coming up to me, taking my hand, checking and seeing, you have a little hard piece, getting a nail file. Can you tickle me here, please? Asking to be touched sensitively and lightly. It's just so delicate, such a gentle little flower. But she was already living in a world of violence and punishment at the age of 5. It was compounding, it was getting worse. When Chandra asked her, where do you go when you go? She goes, I go up the mountain to my quiet space. So just escape. Now she's present. She's present, she's self-aware, and she thrives, she grows, she integrates herself very smoothly. I'm pretty sure any child, if you pull them out of the toxic conditions and you put them in the right conditions. So I work with adults that have these internal blockages that they picked up pre-verbally. There's something to be said about learning how to tap into your angers, your fears, and let them out. Because once you're completely clear and they're out, then there's no load on you. They're not toxic for you anymore. They're not repressed anymore. They're free. You've got full dynamic range. That clears up vast territories of creative intuition. Because your emotions, it's your passion. It comes through. It turns you into a creative being. It gives you the joy to step up and take care of things. Even when there's a mess, jump in with a nice, positive attitude. Not because you're chanting a mantra, conditioning yourself or priming yourself, right, or creating incantations to feel that way, but because you just wake up that way naturally. It's effortless. Feeling happy, relaxed, in a blissful body is effortless. You shouldn't have to do anything. You have to do something to get to the point where you can experience it and go, wow, I made a dream come true. Wow, I had a moment of peace and quiet. Wow, I felt a connection with God, with the universe, with my being here. I felt it. So it's real. It's possible. But if you have to consciously fight and kill, slay your monsters and your demons, you don't realize that unconsciously you're creating them by repressing them. So you're unconsciously creating a mess that you then have to consciously go out of your way to address it. It's a huge waste of resources. Huge. It's so big that people lose their way. They lose their way. They get lost. They're so concerned in creating a beautiful state that they don't realize that they're actually making a mess of themselves. It's like putting on makeup, and not paying attention, and you've got really bad skin, and you've got bags under your eyes, you're always tired because you're not resting properly, but you can paint it over and manage your state. And these aren't real emotions, they're sentiments. Because if you're thinking about them, if you're using your mind to manipulate your state, you're not manipulating your emotions, you're filtering out and you're creating sentiments. Sentiments, feelings with your mind. Does that make sense? So it's very important to get your body feeling really good, relaxed, so your body's healthy. And then from this vantage point, going into your yuckier, less yummier emotional experiences, traumas, stories, and reliving them with full awareness. So that you can finish the lesson, so you can complete the story, especially if you have a trauma as a child. And everybody has a trauma. Everybody has their worst nightmare. Maybe it's breaking a nail. Maybe it's not getting enough Gucci bags, or maybe it's that you lived, you survived a concentration camp. It doesn't matter. You're still going to put whatever the worst thing you have is and turn it up to volume 10. And it's going to control and manipulate your life. And it's completely out of proportion. And on top of that, even if the worst things happened to you, and you were beaten, you were raped, you were abused, you were tortured, whatever it was, you're alive now, right? And nobody's beating you, attacking you, raping you, torturing you now, right? So why are you holding on to the trauma? because you don't have to. The only way is to actually go in. So I encourage people to learn how to get their body healthy. Start going into all of your emotions and finishing your stories and completing them and clearing them out. Especially the ones you don't want to think about. The things you don't want to feel need to be felt with full conscious awareness and acceptance that they're part of life. You come in with emotions, you're going to have experiences, and as children, we have experiences that are too rich and too complex for us to digest properly. So we hold on to them, waiting until we're mature enough to complete them. There's a certain wisdom to that. Instead, we're taught to deny them, repress them, use some sort of Dickens process or something to get it out of the way, take pills to squeeze them down. Or we learn that we can drink whiskey or beer or wine, and those become low-level sophistication approaches towards dealing with our inner pains and sorrows and fears and guilts and shames, as opposed to just flat out going in and resolving. Once they're clear, they're clear. They're only toxic when they're not addressed. They're only toxic when they're ignored or denied. And a beautiful state, there's flowers around you, existence is already in a beautiful state. Beautiful state, yumminess, bliss is the speed minimum. Right? You've ever been on a superhighway where they say minimum speed 60 miles an hour, 100 miles? Because otherwise, like you're just creating accidents. You can't just drive a tuk-tuk on the Autobahn. Like it just doesn't. This would be dangerous, right? Just like you can't drive too fast on a regular road. You have a minimum. In order to keep up with existence, you need to be at peak performance, perfectly healthy, clear, living in a state of bliss. That's the requirement for an ant to be an ant, or for a cockroach to be a cockroach. That's the minimal requirement. Why would it be less for humans? And seriously, if you need to go out of your way to manage your state, why don't you just, so you do it once, you do it twice, you learn to manage your state. Great, why don't you manage what you do to take yourself out of state in the first place? You can wake up in a beautiful state. As a matter of fact, every day you're not waking up in a beautiful state, you're wasting your life. Every day you're not waking up in health and in balance and peak. That's the minimal standard for me. It's the lowest bar. Thriving, being present. Because think of an ant that can't thrive. It disappears. Right? If a cockroach can't carry 100,000 eggs and sneak in and out of your kitchen and steal food and make its nest, it's not going to make it. We've been around for 300 million years doing that. That's how they do it. They're thriving. Humans we do not have 300 million years left on this planet the way we're living. We don't have 30 years left on this planet. I'm surprised if we'll get 10 or 15, 20 years before there's a massive environmental, geopolitical, financial crash that'll wipe out 10, 20, 30, 50, 80%, 90% of the population. We're not going to make it 30 years, much less 300 million years. We're not thriving. We're not present. We're not balanced. Our emotions, our repressed emotions, poison and confuse us. Do not allow us to be present. So anybody can do the work. You just have to do it. Once you experience it, you'll know for yourself. I guarantee you, clearing yourself, getting your body healthy and feeling good, feeling yummy at all instances, and then you go, okay, I feel yummy, but I'm still angry and sad because of my mother, because of my father, because I did this, because I did that. List them out. Map them out. Start writing letters. Start clearing things. If you need to say sorry to someone, say you're sorry. If you owe someone money, pay them. If someone cheated you and you accepted it, let it go. What's the point of carrying an emotional load? It's a lot of energy that's being pulled out of your system. And you're pressing buttons on the walkie-talkie, you're not present until you're completely clear of your emotions. So you clear your body first, and you realize that your body has emotions that also need to be fully known and understood. So just like you know how to maintain peak blood sugar levels, I want you to maintain how to maintain peak anger levels, peak sadness levels. And they will rebalance themselves automatically. But only if they're not repressed. If they're repressed, they will not rebalance themselves in this way. They'll stay out of control. Then you have to go out of your way to consciously use your mind to think about how you're going to resolve this emotional situation. Instead of get to the root, resolve the root, so that it doesn't come up anymore. And then you're free. You're emotionally free. And you're emotionally free forever, for life. You're not emotionally free until you're emotionally free. It's just a fact. There's just no way around it. And you become an authority. The moment you're emotionally free, you know it. You're an authority unto yourself. You're like, I'm emotionally free. And you can see everybody who is not emotionally free. You can tell people who are sad, repressed, they're angry, they're sexually repressed, they're violently repressed, or overexpressed, and then you know how to deal with them, how to manage them, how to work with them, how to let them into your life or not, for what situation, right? Like if I have to take a boat and a taxi to go into town, as a healthy, happy, balanced, present man, I don't care who takes me, just get me from here to there. But when my little girl needs to go to school, I need to make sure that person is healthy, balanced, respectful of her life, right? Won't talk to her or touch her or do anything to her in a way that's out of balance. So because I'm emotionally clear, and Jantra has done the work to be emotionally clear, we can feel people. And if we feel that other people are not clear in any area that has to do with anger, with violence, or with sexuality, they're not welcome anywhere near our little girl without us being around. Why take a risk? Right? Does that make sense? Because you can see it. When you're clean, you can tell when somebody else is dirty. But if you hang out in a trash yard all the time, eventually you don't smell it anymore. You forget you don't smell the trash anymore. So you have the poisons in you. You don't feel them. You forget them. You don't sense them in others. As a matter of fact, you're attracted to others who have similar poisons. Everybody has them. They're like hair. Everybody has hair on their body somewhere. Different densities, thicknesses, qualities, right? But everybody has all of these psychological and emotional repressions and fears and insecurities and desires. And there's no way to be free, present, intuitive in the moment if you're carrying any of this. And every time, and each and every way that you repress yourself for every situation, you are no longer present in the moment. You're closing down that area for your intuition, for your intuitive radar to function. You're saying, emotions don't count. I'm not going to include emotions into my intuitive radar on what I need to thrive in life. If you're going to repress them, if you're going to hold it down, I'm not going to say what I feel.
You have to shut my mouth. I have to hold my mouth shut because I just feel so strongly that you're an idiot.
What?
But that's repression, isn't it?
You're repressing it, yeah. You're repressing it for a paycheck.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, and then later, what are you doing with it? Are you holding on to it or you're releasing it? Because if you go back and you don't say it to his face, you're just like, just such an idiot. Okay, up to you, be an idiot. And then you go away, and then you write down, what a fucking idiot. And you take that, you write it down, you sign it, and you burn it, and you release it. And you feel a little bit angry, and you go and you beat up a pillow, and then you release it. And then now you're relaxed, and you can laugh. And you can laugh at him. You can laugh because it's so stupid. At least he's paying me a paycheck. I'm just waiting for this to crash. We'll see what happens.
To build myself.
Now you're waiting to build yourself, right? So, but I'm talking about your own personal inner emotions, your stories about yourself. We're not talking about anybody outside.
Okay.
Yet. I'm talking just about you. If you were just sitting alone, what can you dig up as far as anger and sadness and hatred and rage and guilt and shame? And what are lust? What have you repressed yourself from your childhood up to now? And you clearly repressed your feelings towards your brother.
What he does.
What he does. And you keep repressing it. So what is the price tag of that? That's something to consider. And can you just let that go each time? Let go of your past and go step by step. Use it as a learning opportunity. Does he have a right? But once again, who is choosing to, like, if it wasn't my company, you can't come cry to me or come tell me that you're going to do something stupid and all. You're like, what do I care? Do I care? Are you paying me to tell me? Is he paying you to consult? He's not paying you. You know what? Go be stupid all by yourself. What do I care? Why are you telling me this? You already stole half my company. What do you tell? Right? Like, this is This is a conversation you could have. So what's he going to do? Hit you in that spot? It just depends on you. Like, here's what could be happening. You've been trained from childhood. It could be that you've been trained from childhood to receive the punishment and allow it and repress your capacity to fight back. And that could be the only thing that's holding you back. And all you need to do is just let them have it. Or walk away. And now, Jantar was born in a war zone. So she had some serious anger and violence she had to deal with. She saw and experienced things as a child that you do not want to even hear about. Like real serious violence. So she would take a machete, go out into the garden and chop up a dead tree. And put all that anger towards, project her anger, her hatred on the person who had hurt her, the situation, and then put that on a dead tree and then kill it with an axe or with a machete until she got it out. Then these yoga balls, I would hold the yoga ball and she would kick it and 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 kick it. And you have to let your anger out until you cry. You haven't let your anger out until you've cried, because anger is repressed sadness. Anger is expressed sadness, and sadness is repressed anger. So you need to let it out. And you let you get yourself sad until you get angry again. You keep doing that back and forth until you throw up. Then you begin to feel a little better, and then one day you can laugh about it, and now you're free. So there's emotional catharsis techniques, there's strategies, there's disciplines, there's yogas for going into your anger and repressing. The bottom line is, you can get to a state where you have no repressed emotions, feelings of any type whatsoever within you as a complete being right here, right now. And then, from this space, now you are in a situation where you have an opportunity where somebody pulls out something. And you allow it, you don't interfere with it, and the right response always comes out, because it's a full awareness response. You're conscious. It's like your eyes are open and the lights are on, everybody else has blindfolds on, and they're pretending to see the light. They're pretending to know what they're doing, and your eyes are open and the lights are on, and you see all these blind people running around pretending to know what they're doing. So of course you're just calm and relaxed. You have a certain sense of confidence, and nobody picks a fight with you because there's just something a little too deep and too mysterious about you and how you're going to respond. Right? So resolving yourself, giving yourself full permission to, as an integrated, intuitive being, respond to, in this case, your brother, however way you feel you need to, I bet you that's a game changer without anything having to happen. Just being in that space is enough. And you might need to tell him the same. As a matter of fact, if you care about him, you say, you know what? I don't care about this business, but I care about you. You're an idiot. Go ahead. See if you can learn. And next time I'll tell you again, and next time again. As a matter of fact, here's 100 last times you've been an idiot. You want to wake your stupid ass up, or you want to stay stupid? Just be an idiot. What do I care? It's not my problem. Right? You're the one that has to figure yourself out. Physically, emotionally, psychologically, in your business, with money, with your health. Obviously, you're kind of walking a fine line there. You seem to be falling off the other side. You don't want to hear it from me? Then why are you talking to me? Why are you bothered? Right? This could be something that might come out of your mouth spontaneously because you're clear. You're like, well, why are you telling me this? How is this helping? You want my validation that you're an idiot? Yes, you're an idiot. You're going to do it again. Okay, good luck. Up to you. And you might not say anything. And that might be the best approach too. There's no way to know. You can't anticipate it. Mind is not capable of knowing what to do. Mind is only capable of giving you creative options. And you choose from your intuitive center. But in order to be able to choose from your intuitive center, you must be clear. So if it's anything to do with physicality of your body, you must be physically clear. If it has anything to do with emotions, then you must be emotionally clear. If it has anything to do with your psychology, then you have to be psychologically clear. Right? Does that make sense? And then you'll know what to do then. You as not your mind, you as an integrated being, as an organic unity, will know what to do because you're clear physically, emotionally, psychologically, financially, sexually, spiritually. You're clear in all territories. All lenses are clear. You're processing the information that's coming through, and it's giving an integrated picture. There is value in being in that space. For me, it's the most valuable space to start from. Being clear. And free. Free to go full range. Free to step away, free to engage, free to laugh, free to punch, free to kiss, free to bite. And full range freedom. I have no idea what I'm going to say next, what I'm going to do next, how I'm going to respond next. I have certain clues that if somebody tries to attack my family, that they're going to run into a universe of problems. That I'm pretty clear about. But as far as you and me is concerned, I don't know what I'm going to do. Whatever you say or do next, I don't know. I might laugh, I might scream. I don't care. I'm not worried about it, right? And I can only anticipate how I'd respond to, for example, an attack on my child because there aren't a lot of options. So knowing yourself to that degree allows you to save up a lot of extra time and unnecessary. But before you can deal with the outside world, you have to deal with the inside world. So there's a sequence to knowing how that works. And I'll share that sequence with you. The sequence, the progressive sequence, is that the first thing you need to realize is that you can have intuitive flashes. Once you recognize, wow, I had an intuitive flash here, and I had an intuitive flash there. I don't know exactly how it happened, but it happens. So first is accept. I have intuitive flashes. I have moments of feeling connected and peaceful and at one. You have those? You feel connected, peaceful, at one with your world?
People, or?
Just with yourself? Yourself, you're connected to the world?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, well, you are, but sometimes we forget, right? So these, within the Zen system, are called mini-satoris. There are moments when you're just balanced, and you happen to have rested enough and eaten enough and be in the right situation, in the right place at the right time with the right people, and suddenly you're alone, and suddenly you're there, you're connected, you're at one, you're peaceful, you have flashes of creative insight. Yeah, you've had those? These are a function of your biology. Your body is right in a space where you're balanced physically, emotionally, psychologically, and you're just present. And you feel it. So the next step is being aware that these are happening, they're authentic, they happen to me, that happen to anyone, to everyone. Everyone has these experiences now and then. We then look at, how do I create the conditions so it happens more often? What do I do for it to happen less often? What do I do for it to happen more often? Less often, more often, more often, more often. You keep, so it becomes rather a common occurrence. Still something keeps pulling you out, but you have these flashes on a regular, continuous basis. You have a lifestyle that allows these flashes to occur on a regular basis, right? Does that make sense? Yeah. And then, so you've now created a space where you can experience this, so you know it's real. And you've manipulated, you've created a lifestyle, you've engineered a lifestyle that allows it to happen more often. Here. Okay. The next step is, stop looking for it to happen. Look for everything that you do within you, internally, everything inside of you, your thoughts, your beliefs, your values, your philosophies, your fears, your emotions, your traumas, your pains. Okay? And clear all of those within you so that you are clear as far as you are concerned. So, Rafael, as far as Rafael is concerned, knows how many toes Rafael has. Knows what anger is, knows what sadness is, knows what is when he feels shame or guilt. Knows 1%, knows 100% of his anger. Has experienced rage and hatred at 1%, has experienced it at 99%, and has actually allowed himself to go to 100%. Right? So this body knows itself physically and emotionally. Then I've gone through and I've looked at all of my thoughts, every single one of them, about myself, about my life, all of them, and they're all clearly know. And all the incomplete thoughts have been completed. All the open windows have been closed and shut. All the running apps that are unnecessary have been shut off and maybe even disabled or removed. And as far as this person, from toe to head, from here to here, right, the entire being is concerned, there are no questions, there are no doubts, there's no fears, there's no insecurities, there's no desires, there's no hopes, there's no dreams, there's nothing. There's nothing. It's empty, there's nothing. I'm an empty vessel. There's zero doubts, questions, and there's no picture in my head of an image of myself in an argument or intention with any other picture in my head. I should have done this, I could have done that, I wish I'd done this, next time I see him, I'm going to do that. Finished. Clean slate. When you complete that, you reach a place that is known as Satori 1, where you are clear as far as yourself inside, as a single individual alone being. Now, you have a family, you have a job, you meet with other people, so you're not a single alone being. So you can take yourself out and go on a little retreat somewhere, right? Figure yourself out. It takes a couple of weeks to clear yourself. Then you go back into your normal world. In your normal world, you need to be balanced by yourself, but also with your partner, with your family, with your businesses, with the neighbor, right? So then you start learning how to find and clear yourself, your physical responses. Be aware of your physical responses, your emotional responses, your psychological responses to the people within your environment, in your world. So you're clear about that, and you have no problems, issues, or challenges that last for more than that moment. Now you've reached a point of Satori 2. Once you reach Satori 1, you start functioning intuitively. Your light is on as far as you're concerned. As far as other people are concerned, the light isn't tuned into other people. You're tuned into yourself. You can function as an intuitive being. From the moment you can create the conditions that allow for your mini flashes of intuition, your creative flashes, your little mini Satoris, from that moment on, you are now in charge. You're the skipper. You're the captain. You're not an experienced skipper or captain. I've only sailed across the Indian Ocean once. I do not consider myself an experienced skipper or captain. I would train, do a lot of coastal sailing before I took a sailboat with me and with my family and sailed across the Indian Ocean again. It would not happen tomorrow. I would take months to train because I would want to have the skills. But I am a skipper, I am the captain, and I can take my boat and I can sail it to here or there, as long as I'm within view of a coast, within a certain area. I'm not crossing an ocean, I'm just crossing a bay. I'm in the Sea of Thailand. I'm not in the Indian Ocean. I'm in the South China Seas, I'm not in the Pacific Ocean. Right? Does that make sense? I'm aware of my limitations, but I have a certain level of mastery. I reached a point in my life over 20 years ago where I knew that I could do whatever I needed to. I could have my flashes of insight come on as needed. So I could do something to make it happen. Right? So you are now the captain of your life. Right? So you work on clearing yourself first. Once you clear yourself, then you know how to manage others. If I have to deal with somebody who's a cause of emotional, psychological, financial stress on me and my family, physical pain, I don't know what to do if I'm not clear with myself. So I would go away somewhere, I'd get out of this person's influence for a while, even if just for a few days, and I would just focus on clearing myself, just about myself, so that I don't have any unconscious triggers or repressed emotions that interfere with this outside experience. Now I'm clear internally. Now that I'm clear internally, now I will start exploring as a clear individual, how do I live my life? How do I respond to this individual that has so much, that I give so much influence, so much power to over me, that allows me to become more clear, more intuitive, healthier, have a yummier life. Right? Does that make sense? Clear yourself first so that you can then know what to do next. I don't know what you're supposed to do, but I know that I don't know what I'm supposed to do until I'm clear with myself. Once I'm clear with myself, whatever I need to do, that's what I do. So my only suggestion, my only advice can be, clear yourself. If there's an emotional challenge, clear yourself emotionally so that you are not an emotional challenge unto yourself.
Yeah.
First. Because if you have tensions, fears, insecurities, inner tensions, and struggle, you're fighting yourself. You're already divided. How are you going to deal with an outside force? The enemy is attacking, and you're fighting amongst yourselves. You can't be fighting with yourself and fight with someone outside of you. That just doesn't. That's not sustainable. But if you're clear within, you're consolidated within yourself, and you're clear, you're happy, you're healthy. If someone step on your toes, maybe you deal with it, maybe not. There's a nice saying in Africa in the bush that the resting lion is undisturbed by the barking of the small dog. He's a lion. The dog's bit. It's not disturbed by it. Now, if the dog comes and pokes the lion in the nose, it might get his head bitten off. That's another story. But it'll get its head bitten off, and the lion will still not be disturbed while it's biting its head. Like, I'm not disturbed. If I have to get up and punch someone, I'm not disturbed by the fact that I need to get up. If this body gets up and slaps you, it's not disturbed by it. It's not a disturbance. It's just a response. Right? So, if you're not disturbed with yourself, about yourself, then nobody can disturb you from the outside. How you respond will depend on the situation. I've been in situations where it would have been unwise for me to say what I needed to say because it was in front of a border crossing guard or some arrogant policeman with a gun in a country where I really have no rights whatsoever. So telling him what I think about him in that moment wouldn't be the most intelligent through. I just need to get past him to the next place because he's not on my, what do I care? So I get out of the way now. Am I free now? Can I give them what they need so you can get out of the way? But there are other situations where it directly has something to do with me, and I'm going to give you a direct response. I don't know that until it occurs. I don't prepare for it. I have no way of knowing what's going to happen. All I know is that if I'm clear on the inside, then that's the only chance I have of having clarity of how to respond to an outside situation, like a business partner or a lover or a brother or a sister or whatever. It makes no difference. I'm clear on the inside. I don't compromise my inner clarity for somebody else. So whatever allows me to have greater clarity, greater joy, even if that means walking away, then that's what I do. When my partner and best friend stole our business, the house, the money, the resource, everything, to the tune of $500,000, for me to fight him, that's not even a question of physically, but legally fight him and win something, I was ready to leave the country and go on an adventure around the world. I was not willing to compromise 5 minutes of the rest of my life and my adventure to tie myself up in a lawsuit. So even though my mind was like, we're letting go of millions, or whatever, lots of money, right? In this case, $500,000. My heart, my being, my center, my intuition was, it's okay. I have abundance. If anything, I felt sad for him. This guy's so stupid. He's got to steal that much money. I think that was enough to share. He's a very damaged individual. So maybe he needs it. I don't. I can use it. I don't need it. You can use it, but you don't need it. If you need it, if it's a life requirement, if it's a last breath, if I got to use it to get medicine to my child, and you're playing games with me, I'm gonna take it from you. Beat your, put it on YouTube. Like, there's just no way. This is not, because I have a mission. I have a need. Is it a need, or a want, or a desire, or a hope, or a dream? There's a difference. A need is a need. A want, a desire, a dream. Who cares? It's a dream. It's just a bubble. It makes no difference. You're not going to compromise yourself over a dream. It's a dream. It's a dream. What's reality? Reality, everything's okay. But I had a dream, I had a hope. You shattered, you destroyed my possibilities. I'm okay right here, right now. I'm fine. Right? So each situation will be determined in the moment. So I have a brother who does this to me. I have a sister. I have a mother. I have a business partner. Yeah, so what? What am I going to do? No idea. Yeah, I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to be clear on the inside. I'm going to be happy, healthy, refreshed, vibrant, ready to engage 100%, take what's mine, or ready to let it go 100% and move away, ready to, well, make an offer. Would you like to resolve this? I leave it up to you. You resolve it. I'm at peace. You're miserable. I'm not compromising my peace, so I'm not even going to think about it. What do you need? I'll give you 10%. If that's going to make you happy, yes, I'll give you 0. If that's going to make you happy, do that. I'm already happy. Right? You give it to the other person. It's not your responsibility. He's an idiot with a company that's his company. You gave it to him. So how is this your responsibility? You don't care. I don't care. It's not my business anymore. Is this my business or not? No, but I want to know. Will you pay any consulting fees? They start at 2,000 euros an hour. Huh? Well, if you want to know how I feel about it, right? Like you clear yourself. Put on your oxygen mask, right? So that you can help others to see if they need the mask or not.
So I have to be clear with myself first.
Yes, being clear with yourself first is always the best first step. It's the only thing I need to do. I just keep myself clear with myself. And then I tune in with my woman, my partner, my wife, and make sure that she has the space to clear herself too. If she's not clear, then I give her space to clear herself. Maybe I remind her, hey, you need to clear yourself. Or she says, I got to talk to you, but why don't you go take a shower, clear yourself, and then come back. Now what do we need to do? You're clear, I'm clear. Well, then we're both clear. Done. It's that simple. It's effortless. There's no, once again, when the light's on and the doorway is clearly visible, you simply walk through it. You don't ever even think about trying to walk through the wall, do you? Because you're clear. If you're not clear, then you're fumbling. You're groping, I'll try this, I'll try that, maybe I try this, what if he does this? These are all mental projections. They're not existentially real. Nothing's happened yet. And they prevent you from being clear in the moment, spontaneous, intuitive, which is your greatest asset. Being clear is my greatest asset. Knowing how to clear myself is value because you want to learn how to clear yourself. I'm sharing information with you so you learn how to clear yourself. So then you know what to do with your life. That's much more interesting. Right?
Physical alignment. Now, the quality of our physical alignment, whether it be normal and good physical alignment, peak performance physical alignment, and unhealthy and poor quality physical alignment, will have a direct effect on the amount of energy that's needed from low to good to high to accomplish the same tasks, low activity intensity to high activity intensity. In other words, when I'm at peak performance physical alignment, my body is symmetrical, it's balanced, I'm feeling relaxed, energized, ready to dance, I can perform low intensity activities and even high intensity activities with a minimal amount of energy. As compared to when I am in normal physical alignment, where as we get older, when we reach our 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, I'm in my mid-50s, it's easy to accumulate some aches and pains and stiffness that are age-related. We have poor sleep. And if our body's out of alignment, we do okay. We still get around. We can still perform. But it takes more energy, so we get tired more. Right? And we notice this, children tend to outrun us adults because they're at better performance because they tend to be more symmetrical and more balanced because they've had less years to accumulate behavior patterns of sitting improperly, walking improperly, holding our bodies in a way that keep us out of alignment. And this generates wear and tear on the body to the point where it's very common these days to see the vast majority of people in very poor, unhealthy physical alignment. And these are people that are in chronic pain. They have all sorts of illnesses and injuries. They're limited physically, emotionally, and mentally. So think of it as your car. If the wheels and the alignment of your car are out of alignment, Not only do you have more wear and tear on the wheels and the brakes, but you also use more gas. You need more power to get through. Same with the aerodynamics of a boat or a performance car or an airplane. The smoother the alignment, the least amount of resistance. So there's a certain amount of resistance in our bodies and a certain amount of energy and tension that goes into our bodies to deal with the fact that we might be in unhealthy and poor alignment or just normal alignment. And then there is a peak performance alignment that once again you discover by practicing for yourself. And this is where the discipline of yoga comes in, and it's a beautiful way of learning how to effortlessly align yourself, or with the least effort. Now there's different types of yogas. There's power yogas they're power yogas. You power through them. But then there's yogas like Hatha yoga and Raja yoga, where the point is to how to balance yourself and align yourself. Now you don't need to be an advanced yogi or take a bunch of classes if you don't have access to them. A lot of times all you need to do is just stand in front of a mirror and look at yourself. And notice, are your shoulders at the same height? Is your head straight? Are you tilting to one side? Notice when you're sitting, is one foot out of alignment with another? Are you slouching when you're sitting at the table and eating? Are you sitting up straight? You can practice balancing yourself in alignment so it takes the least amount of energy. And with a little bit of practice and with awareness, your body can attain to a higher quality physical alignment, which will mean that your body will then need less energy for different activities and less energy just to relax. So one of the exercises you can do, for example, is when you go to bed, lay down in your bed, on your back, comfortably, nice and straight, and align yourself as perfectly as you can. Your left side, your right side, your legs, your arms, just learn how to do that. And then if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're kind of twisted and turned to one side, realign yourself. Each time you do this, you bring the body back to a higher quality alignment. And slowly, slowly over time, you can learn to realign yourself. And of course, if you have access to a yoga class or a teacher or a guide or a facilitator that can help you find out how to get your best alignment, try it, because it'll improve the quality of your life.